May 14th, 2023. I have to say, this last week was better than the week before. The prior week, we had the Pluto station, we had the lunar eclipse in Scorpio. Tense week, everybody was freaking out as predicted. And then last week, as we moved away from the eclipse, still technically in eclipse season, still having some hot aspects, I feel that things definitely got a little bit easier, a little bit more settled down, and that was kind of a good thing. It was definitely better. This week, well, we'll have to see. We start out with Mercury stationing to go direct on Sunday, late on Sunday. We could really, well, in Europe, it's actually the early hours of Monday. So Sunday, the 14th, actually, if you're watching this, Saturday, the 13th, Sunday, the 14th, and Monday, the 15th, really colored by the Mercury station to go direct. As you know, if you've been watching, as you know, mercurial mishaps multiply right around the station. So this weekend is when we would expect to have the most dramatic mercurial problems. So, be careful with things, This is a good time to back up your computer. This is a good time to, well, see what happens. Watch out for traffic snarls and things like that. A lot of, if you're in the U.S., it's Mother's Day in the U.S., and there'll be quite a lot of travel on Mother's Day. So we would expect there to be some snarls anyway. So that is one thing. Now, when Mercury starts going direct, give him a little bit of time. Don't rush out on Monday and say, well, now I'm going to buy a computer and a car and I'm going to sign that contract. Give Mercury a couple of days to get up to speed, at least get moving a little bit. I would say you'd want to be midweek or beyond. And the longer you can wait, the better it is. You know who's not waiting? Mars. Because less than 12 hours after Mercury goes direct, Mars trines Neptune, and he's off to the races. Now, Mars-Neptune aspects typically involve going beyond boundaries. Now, this is a trine, so it's a soft aspect, so we would think it's not going to be quite so energetic as we might otherwise expect. And, Mars is in Cancer and Neptune is in Pisces. A little bit more, I would say, that acting upon emotion and maybe pushing forward a little bit faster and harder than you otherwise would need to. Mars in Cancer, very protective. And that's an important thing to keep in mind, because it tends to be this sort of reactiveness. Still in all, I would say mostly Monday, you're looking for issues with commuting, and some folks perhaps driving a little bit too aggressively. Could feel good to get going, get moving, right? Mercury's direct, Mars is trine Neptune. I understand it. You want to get moving. Is it going to happen? I don't know. We'll have to see. I think you'll see some snarls as well. You'll see some failure to get traction in these water signs. I think especially Mars is going to have a little trouble getting traction. But we'll have to see about that. Now on Tuesday, Jupiter goes into Taurus, beginning a year-long stay. Video on Jupiter and Taurus was out last week. You can find it right here on the channel. You should be subscribing so that this way you don't have to go looking for things. Hit the little bell so you get the notification when we put a new video out, when I put a new video out. So you could go watch that. Basically, we're looking to see this week, though, what happens on Tuesday. Watch finance, especially. Jupiter's in Taurus, big finance sign. Resources, big issues with resources. And on Wednesday, no sooner does Jupiter get into Taurus, where he's usually very happy, expands things, should otherwise be good for the economy and things like that. On Wednesday, he squares Pluto. And we got to keep our eyes open and see what that is about. I would say that we would be looking at some of the issues that were hot when Jupiter conjuncted Pluto back in 2020 in Capricorn. We had, well, of course, there was the pandemic, but we're looking at supply chain issues and things like that. How is that working out? What about the bank failures? That's a Taurus, Scorpio, Taurus kind of issue. And are we going to bail them out? Which, there's basically you kind of have to bail out banks when they fail. But then there's this kind of like, are we holding them accountable Pluto in Aquarius wants to know. We'll have to see. Keep your eyes on finance. Keep your eyes on folks getting a little bit off the rails right around midweek. We'll see what happens with Jupiter in Taurus. It's going to set the tone for Jupiter's year in Taurus. Although I think that the other aspects that Jupiter makes during the course of the year are going to be a little bit different than what we're seeing right as we get started. Still in all, whatever happens when you first start, that tends to keep things going. So we'll have to look at that. Now, Thursday, we have some easy aspects. The sense of it is that maybe Thursday coming into Friday, Friday is the new moon. So that would be a good time to wrap things up. Okay. So, even with Jupiter going into Taurus and the square to Pluto on Tuesday and Wednesday, for most of us, the easy aspects that are at the end of the week are really the ones that are kind of going to be affecting us mostly. And I would suggest that it's a good time to wrap things up, conclude business. You just want to, it would be a good time for spring cleaning. Because the moon will be in Aries for a lot of this time. So it's not like you want to just sit around. So, it's a good time for spring cleaning. A good time maybe for doing a little bit of exercise, get out and go for a walk, that type of thing. Don't push too hard because the moon is waning, but don't do nothing either. Keep yourself busy, keep yourself active. So that is the way we're going to approach the end part of the week. We have the new moon in Taurus on Friday. Basically, typical new moon advice. You want to just chill, see what happens. It's a good time to meditate and think about Taurian issues, about your body, about your resources, about your finances, and so on. You're going to want to set intentions a little bit later on. You're going to want to go forward a little bit and let the moon wax a little bit before you even put down firm intentions or anything like that. You want to take Friday, probably Saturday, as a meditative day. Don't do too much. You know who's not waiting? Mars. Because Mars is going to stride into Leo on Saturday. And as he gets in there, he's going to be leaving behind that Cancerian vibe. And it's a much more direct, forward, kind of energetic, here I am, let's go kind of vibe. Now, before he gets into Leo, he's going to be at the very last degrees of Taurus. That Jupiter-Pluto square, which could be kind of tense, especially at the collective level, is likely to stir up a sort of reactive protectiveness with Mars at the last degrees of Cancer. So the idea we need change, but no, we can't have it. See a little bit of that at the end of the week. We're doing our stuff. We're going for walks and doing spring cleaning and stuff like that. But in the collective, you're probably going to see some reactiveness. Start getting into a political discussion, you may have it at your personal level as well. So that stuff is going on. But then Mars goes into Leo, and it's a more fiery, upbeat, what can we do? This would be really great for, maybe not right away, but this is really great for things like any creative project. It is very good for, if you get into a little bit of competition, play a game of chess or something along those lines. That would be terrific. But what do you think? You're thinking about Mars in Leo and it's just business as usual? No. We have Mars in Leo. Technically, it is on the it's on the 21st, on the early hours of the 21st, Sunday next week. But let's cover it now because we're going to be feeling it really from Friday onwards, and certainly Saturday. And that is Mars's opposition to Pluto. Now, Jupiter square Pluto might be tense, and it's going to play out on the collective level. And what are we going to do with finances and who's in charge of what, and that type of stuff. That's big doings. I'm not saying it's not. We have a whole other video for that, though. But Mars opposed to Pluto, here we have Mars in the sign of the individual. Here I come, this is what I'm doing. And Pluto in the sign of the collective saying, no, you're not. And Mars and Pluto, They both rule Scorpio. You think they'd get along better, but in opposition to each other, this is a real clash. And this is the clash of I'm going to go do my thing, the hell with everybody else, versus, oh, no, you're not, says everybody else. On a personal level, tempers are going to be short, and it's going to be really important to find, if you feel that tension building within you, it's really important to find a way to use it constructively. That's what you want to do here. You want to use it constructively. Sensible exercise. Don't go running yourself into the ground or anything like that. You want to be sensible about any exercise that you're doing. I mean, it would be a pretty good opportunity for things like martial arts if you're into that. But you know what? A creative project is a great idea. Just do something creative, whatever it is, musically, visual arts, whatever, something creative. Okay, so you want to get out there, you want to burn energy. You want to burn energy with this aspect. If you have excess energy, you could theoretically channel this energy into just about anything, work or otherwise. But I'm thinking that more or less this is something that we're going to use Saturday. After all, it's Saturday, Sunday, hopefully some leisure time type of activities. But you're going to have to get out there. Don't expect a lot of cooperation from others. That Mars in Gemini says, what would be great? It would be if we all do this. And Pluto in Aquarius is saying, no, we don't want to do that, And it could be, you say, well, let's go to a restaurant. No, let's not. Let's stay home. Or let's cook dinner. No, we're going out. It's kind of difficulty getting everybody on the same page. So a good strategy then is go do your own thing. You don't need to have everybody else with you. If you got to go do it by yourself, go do it by yourself. You find others who want to, play along. Oh, that's good too. See how long they play along for. Phone business. But Mercury is still retrograde when I'm making this. So naturally, I forgot to shut off the little dinger thing. Okay. So there we have it. This is the aspect to watch, though. Okay, it's technically early next week. We'll cover it again next week's forecast a little bit, although there's another aspect coming for next week after that. Every week this month gets a little hot aspect. Last week it was the Sun conjunct Uranus. This week it's going to be Mars opposite Pluto and sort of Jupiter square Pluto. Next week, other stuff. But hey, we'll talk about it then. The strategy for this week is to wait a little bit right around the Mercury station at the beginning of the week. Be aware that there's confusion. Basically wrap stuff up, cleaning projects, just finishing up stuff as we come into the new moon. Spend some quiet time if you can, and then expect that instead of the usual waxing slowly out of the new moon, it's going to be fast, and it's going to be powerful, and it's going to be right away. A little bit before you're even ready for it is what happens, I think, when we have a hot aspect following the new moon. It's like, it's like you're sleeping and you're feeling like everything is kind of good and you're relaxed. And then it's like, oh my gosh, that's all right. I have to go do this thing. And you got to jump out of bed. And you don't really have time for your coffee or anything like that. You just got to go. It's a little bit of that kind of vibe as we get into the weekend of the 20th and 21st. But hey, once you're up, use the energy productively. And I'll see you next week.